Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our May 6th, 2021 video conference. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrency. So, is Bitcoin going to replace the US dollar? What about Dogecoin? Is that a real thing or is it still a joke? Also, how can you invest without feeling like you're risking everything? And what lessons from the past should we be aware of that can inform our decisions going forward? All this and more when our teleconference video conference starts momentarily. So, hi, we have so much to discuss today, and let's just jump right in. So, I think the first thing I want to talk about is, will Bitcoin replace the US dollar? There are a couple charts I want to show you about this, but I will say this. I think that the interesting development that Tesla is going to take Bitcoin does make this more possible that it becomes part of how we exchange currency. At this point, Bitcoin is not being used as a currency. It's really a trader's platform. So when we hear Jerome Powell talk about it as a replacement for gold or speculative, that's what he's talking about, because mostly what's happening with Bitcoin today is that it is being used for people that want to get rich quick. So people are saying, oh, I'm investing in Bitcoin. And the reason you're investing in it is somebody has convinced you it's going to replace the dollar. But that person may also be asking you to do that so that it's pushing up the price of Bitcoin. In truth, we can't have a currency that is worth 64,000 one week and then 57,000 the next week. And a year ago, it was only worth 6,000. That's not really a currency. And whenever you hear people saying, yeah, I want to invest and I want to get rich, that's trading. That is speculative. That doesn't mean that Bitcoin will not become part of our currency or part of the way that we exchange goods. Again, especially since Tesla is going to start accepting it or has started accepting it for certain products. But right now, what's really happening with all cryptocurrency is it is speculative. And that means that you should have a strategy that wins, but also protects you from losses. In other words, don't bet the farm. And that's some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So I think it is important for me to share a few screenshots here. The first one is, most of what we're talking about is covered in my blog. So if you go to nataliepace.com/blog and you just scroll down, cryptocurrency, the new gold. Okay, so you can click on that. If I do post blogs, twice a week on average. So this blog won't be the first one you see in a few days. And all you have to do in order to find it is just go to nataliepace.com/blog and do a search on cryptocurrency. You'll find it. Or at the end of each blog, I list the prior blogs to make it easy for you to find it. Okay, so when the new blog is posted, this one will be in that list for you. So that's number one. So most of the things that we're going to talk about today, you can actually link back to this blog. You'll be able to click to a lot of the links that I'm going to show you today. But I think a couple of things are important for you to realize. So the first thing is that the US economy is actually predicted to grow pretty robustly this year. I'm going to try to see if I can easily find that chart. Here's the data map. So the US is expected to grow at 6.4%. That's one of the strongest in the world. The dark green are the strongest economies right now. And that means that China, 8.4%, India, 12.5%. We've got Peru looking good, Chile looking good, and the US looking good. Certain parts of Africa as well. Other places look okay. Again, this is mostly a recovery for most of us off of a terrible, terrible year. But 6.4% for the US is better than we've seen in decades. So that's very strong. But at the same time, the composition of the US in the global reserve currency, that has shifted. And it's actually at the lowest point that it's been in at least 25 years. So it's at 59% right now. And that's lower than it's been, but as you can see, it's still the highest, followed by the euro, and then a basket of currencies. The Japanese yen is that other bigger slice right there. Now, Japan and Europe are not in any better position than the US is. If we go back to that data map, you can see that parts of Europe are going to do better than other parts. So, you can see here that Spain is looking like it's going to recover pretty well. The United Kingdom is recovering okay, not quite as strong as Spain or the US, but most of Europe is lower than the US and definitely a lot lower than China, as is Japan. Japan is still really heavily indebted and very slow growth. So we don't have a lot of competition right now with the other world currencies, although ours is still the biggest and it's smaller than it's been in 25 years, but it's still the majority. So when people say that the US dollar is going to become completely worthless, it would mean that pretty much all the world currency would have to, because the the UK and the European Union are very high debt, very slow growth, and Japan is astronomical debt, very slow growth. So look, if we're in an apocalypse, then it might be easier to trade food or gasoline than any of these coins, right? But by pretending that we're in the apocalypse, people are scaring you into doing things that might benefit them more than you. What do I mean by that? Well, I think it's important to understand what happens when people want to get rich quick and when something is a trader's platform. So again, let's go back to the blog so that we can kind of go through a couple of the things that I think are very important for you. The first thing is that all cryptocurrencies are not created equal. Some were created as a joke, Dogecoin. Some are out and out scams. There's currently a crypto scheme based on Wall Street bets. There's been many crypto schemes that I've had to warn of. Joff Paradise and his Trade Coin Club a few years ago. And then there are some that are run by executives who are in trouble with the SEC, like Ripple XRP happened to get into trouble. And that's why that particular coin is no longer traded on Coinbase. So before you get involved in any cryptocurrency, you have to understand what any currency really means. And that means that, you have to have some sort of faith that it's worth something. So when we say the US dollar is worth something, well, the US does have Google, all the FANG stocks, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Nvidia, Google. We invent a lot of the things that the rest of the world wants. We were the first with really mass electric vehicles. That's why Tesla is doing so well in the rest of the world, although certainly, a lot of the Chinese Tesla type cars manufacturers are doing pretty well too. So when you think about what makes an economy strong, it's underpinned by the products that it produces, right? So we produce a lot of intellectual things, intellectual property and intellectual products that the rest of the world really likes. That's why our economy is strong. As long as we keep leaning into the products of tomorrow and making them before everybody else does, and then selling them for a price that the rest of the world can pay, our economy will be strong. We have to stop borrowing from Peter to do that, but so does the rest of the world. All right, so let's go back to this idea. So grade your cryptocurrency coin. And if you're having trouble with that, email us, email info@nataliepace.com, and please don't give us a bunch of articles to read, because obviously if I just read all the articles of all of these marketing things that you're getting, that's not a good use of my time. But if you say, hey, this person, blah, 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 is trying to talk me into this, and you send us a sample of what their blog is, then we might be able to help you. What I can tell you is there are a number of red flags, some of which I've outlined in my blog. And again, I'm encouraging you to read this blog. If you're getting somebody to say, hey, you have to do this now or you're going to miss out, or if they're saying they're making an exception for you and you have to invest more, those are red flags. They're hard sell techniques. And that's a red flag that maybe you're not in where you should be. You can also click to see my warning on Jeff Paradise. There's other, tips there on warnings. You can see Wall Street Bets warning on that crypto scheme that's coming up. So again, these are clickable. When you see that blue, it's a clickable link. Now, let's talk a little bit about Square and Tesla. So both Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey and their companies, Square and Tesla, are invested in Bitcoin for different reasons. So, Bitcoin is a reserve strategy for Tesla. So what they don't want to have everything in cash, although the majority of what they have is a cash or cash equivalent. And they're now calling Bitcoin a cash equivalent. And they had to sell some. They did sell 10% of their holdings in April, presumably at very high price when it hit close to that 65,000 mark. And their strategy is to prove that Bitcoin can work. They've even given the CFO the title Master of Coin. Square is doing it differently. Square will sell you Bitcoin. And so what they're doing is they're buying it. And when they sell it to you, they are able to count that as revenue. Now, of course, if they bought it at XYZ price and they sold it to you for just a little bit more, their actual net profit is very slim. And I think that's something that we should be looking at here, because this was a way for Square's revenue to go to the rocket nether sphere. So they had almost 5 billion booked in revenue in the most recent quarter, which took their revenue to 9.5 billion in 2020. And of that, it was a very small amount that was actually profit. So by buying and selling Bitcoin, they're able to increase their revenue significantly. And that's what they're doing on their Cash App. And that anytime you have explosive revenue growth, that excites investors. It certainly does excite me. But it's important to realize that they're buying and selling it. So both Tesla and Square, when the price of Bitcoin goes down, are going to have to write down, and that's going to be a hit on their earnings report. Now, any good chief financial officer is not going to want to have hits on their earnings reports. So even though they say that they believe in Bitcoin for the long run, they may have to manage this. They may have to sell some high in order to buy low, just like any investor will, as long as this is mainly a trading platform, which at this point it still mainly is. So be cognizant of that. When people say, hey, Tesla is saying that they're in it for the long run and so is Square. Well, yeah, but they still do have reasons why they sell it. And if the CFO of Tesla is truly going to be the master of coin, he's not going to be the master of the coin roller coaster. He's going to be, someone who has the astuteness not to have an enormous write down if the price crashes. And by the way, that has been the history of Bitcoin, is that it does have these shoot the moons, but they do tend to be parabolic arcs. We're not at the end of this one yet. And again, the idea that it'll go to $1 million and that only a select number of people will actually be able to trade goods in the world. If you just think about that logically, that's typically not what happens in life. Especially when we have also Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. And by the way, at this point, the only way you can buy any Tesla product is only in the US and only with Bitcoin. And I do have a clickable link so that you can learn how to do that there. So if that's something you are interested in, and you made a boatload of money on your Bitcoin, you want to buy a Tesla, just click on that link and it'll tell you how to do it. All right, so I think that it is important to be cognizant of history. So in 2018, Bitcoin hit its high of 20,000, and within 2 months it was down by 60%, and at the end of the year it was down by 80%. And that does make it the worst correction in the 21st century. The second worst correction was the dot-com crash, which was minus 78% between 2000 and 2002. There were suicides in 2018. There were crypto millionaires in 2017 that became suicides in 2018. Now, you might say, well, this time is different. It is a trading platform, again, the same as it was then. Square was interested in it back then as well. So it's not that different this time around. And we still have most of the funds using quant analysis on it, which means that they are wanting to definitely capture gains and take profits. In fact, let me show you one chart that I think is really important, and then we're going to talk about how this happens. So if we're looking at the Coinbase, and Coinbase is, one of the more reputable places to buy and sell cryptocurrency, and we go ahead and look at just the Bitcoin price, and we click on all. Again, it's so high now that you can hardly tell this crash here. But when people were selling here, the people that were buying were what we call retail investors. The people that were selling are what we call whales. So this year, the high was about 64,899. And what happened was, well, why is it down from there? Is it what retail investors selling? And the answer is no. On average, it's a Main Street, so a smaller investor is actually buying high. It is the whales, the billionaires, or the venture capital funds, the hedge funds, the private equity funds, the family offices. Those are the ones that are selling as Main Street and retail investors. In other words, individual investors of a lower net worth are buying high. So do be careful, because once it gets this high, a quant analysis will say, hey, we're going to have to sell in order to capture some gains. They might want to take some of their gains off the table. So just be careful about buying high and having the whales sell on you, because it pulls it down fast. Again, the other one, because everything is so high right now, you can't see it, but it was down by 60% within 2 months. It was down by 80% within the year. And most Main Street investors or retail investors, if you just bought high and it drops by 60%, you might be smart enough to say, well, gee, I don't want to sell low, right? And of course, if you had hung on, you'd be in good shape now. But if you've put in too much money and it goes that low, you could lose your house. You may have it under margin. You may have to cover a margin. So it's very problematic when you're betting the farm. It's not problematic if you have a hot slice or two in your overall wealth strategy. So let me show you how that works. So you guys can go to, there's a link to this one as well. You can go to my free web app and create your own pie chart of what your pie chart should look like. So let's say you're 30 and you have an annual salary of about 100,000 and your nest egg is only about 50,000. So you can do a sample pie chart of what you should have. And here it's saying, hey, each one of your hot slices could be $4,200. Now, if you were doing something like that, and even if you think that Bitcoin or Bitcoin and Ethereum or Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash are all super hot, and you want to have 4 slices of crypto, at least you only have about $16,000, $16,800, not all of your money. And that's a good thing, because then if the price implodes, you have some cash that you can buy more at a lower price. Or you have enough cash that you can hang on until it shoots the moon again. I wouldn't recommend that you fill up 4 slices and buy high to do so. What I'm telling people, if you have no money in the markets or in a slice, and you're really interested in something, but it's trading very close to its all-time high, think of it like a pool or the ocean. And rather than just diving in and going all in on it, maybe you stick a toe in, or maybe you go in up to your knees, or maybe you go in up to your waist. And that way, if it keeps moving up, it fills up the slice for you. And if it goes down lower, you have the emotional fortitude to buy more low. Now, the other side of that is that let's say that you had only purchased one hot slice of Bitcoin, and maybe you bought it in March of 2020 when it was only $6,000 a coin. And then it goes up to that 60,000 or 64, almost 65,000. All of a sudden, your one slice is 10 slices. Of course, your nest egg just got very large too. And what that's prompting to you to do is to sell high, just like it's prompting the venture capital funds, the private equity funds, and the big whales. When they see something like that, it's prompting them to sell high. So it can work that way for you too. And you, again, if you still believe in it, you don't sell everything. You just say, okay, I don't need 10 slices of HOTS, or I don't want all of my money in Bitcoin. I'll trim it back to 2 slices or 4 slices or 1 slice. And then you keep that money rather than watching it just go down in value. So that's how this nest egg pie chart can factor in and kind of protect you from yourself, but it also prompts you to do what you're supposed to do, which is to buy low, sell high, but not all and not nothing, not market timing, within reason. It's actually called annual rebalancing. So I do encourage you to take that rebalancing IQ test. That's a blog that I did directly before the cryptocurrency blog, because this is going to help you to understand how to use the pie chart system to invest in cryptocurrency. So just scroll down and the next blog you see is going to be that one. Or you can click on other blogs of interest, rebalancing your nest egg. And it's an IQ test. It's only 20 questions, but it's going to help you to start understanding how this system can work, how it takes the emotions out of it, how it's a buy low, sell high plan on autopilot. So as long as Bitcoin is a trader's paradise, that most of the people are using quantitative analysis, meaning they want to buy low and sell high with it, then it is a good idea to have some sort of structure to it and not just buy into the rhetoric that it's going to completely replace the dollar or that it's going to go to $1 million a coin. Can it go? Yeah, because people can do anything they want to do. When things get faddish and bubblicious, that can happen. But it doesn't mean that it's going to stay there. And that's going to be only the people with Bitcoin are going to be able to buy things. That's highly unlikely. Again, do I think that, I don't think like Warren Buffett and even Jerome Powell that this is just speculation. It is now. But I do see that there are companies that are willing to start accepting it. And if there are people that are willing to start using it, then we will see a shift, and this gets added more into the mix of how we buy and sell and barter with one another. Will it replace the dollar? I don't think that's going to happen soon. Could it happen eventually? It's possible, but it's in my view, it's more likely that we will see banks, which we're already seeing, using a blockchain technology to incorporate that. Although right now it's very expensive in energy to use. So they're trying to use other ways. So I just want to go through my list and make sure that I haven't overlooked anything. I think, again, crypto criminals are a really important thing for you guys to be aware of. And the bottom line is hot slices with rebalancing, regular rebalancing. And obviously, if you bought it and you hear that it's hit the moon, that might be a time to remock up your pie chart. You always can do that. So you want to have an Excel file that you can put in slices of what you have would include your pie chart. What does that include? Your 401k, any money in a brokerage account, any money in a crypto wallet, all your liquid assets, not your home, but your liquid assets, your savings, all of that are part of your nest egg strategy. And if you do an Excel file and you see what you have, and then you do, you know, whatever that bottom line is, the total of what you have in your liquid assets, you know, that is what you're going to be putting into that one line item. Sorry, where is it? Here it is. So that's what you're going to be putting into that one line item there where it says liquid assets total. And when you do that, and then let's say, for instance, that you had 100,000 instead of only 50. When you do that and you click on submit, then it's going to tell you how much you should have in each slice based on your age. So as you get closer to retirement, you want less at risk. And cryptocurrency is risky. It's a trader's platform right now. And but it's obviously one of the hottest investments. Tesla was the hottest investment in 2020. So far this year, it definitely is Bitcoin. Now, I will tell you one other trick. So Bitcoin did a hard fork twice. It went to Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. So Bitcoin Cash, this is something that we talked about in the retreat. It was interesting because Bitcoin was trading at an all-time high, but Bitcoin Cash was pretty low when we started first talking about this. It was right about there. And it was really low. And as you can see, when Bitcoin went to the all-time high, so did Bitcoin Cash. And Bitcoin Cash at that time was worth over $4,000. So sometimes you can look at and find another, you know, a crypto or a coin that is not trading at an all-time high. And if you were thinking about maybe having a slice of Bitcoin Cash because it's at least a better buy, and you use that concept, let's say that you had a slice that could be, because you had a little bit more money, if you had a slice that could be 7,700 per slice, and you go back to that Bitcoin Cash and you say, okay, well, the high, it's at 1,500 right now. I could have purchased it at 200 earlier. So maybe rather than going all in on 7,700, maybe I'll just fill it halfway up. And that way, if it goes, it shoots the moon and it goes up to $4,000 a coin, I'm going to have 3 slices and I can trim that back and capture gains. And if it goes down, then I can buy more low. And that leaves you that extra liquidity that you can buy low. That's one last thing I want to say is that most people don't buy low because they can't buy low. If you've invested everything and you bought high and it goes down in value, you don't have any cash to buy low. And that's why buying low is very difficult for most people to do. It's easy to buy high because you keep thinking, well, I want this, I want to join the party. But if the party crashes or ends and you were the one that was arrived late, you know, you might be a little bit in trouble. And just be careful because the whales, the billionaires, the hedge funds, the people, the high net asset value, they are using quantitative analysis. So I'm not talking about this without having looked at it. So I was looking at the report from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they're saying, look, the most common strategies of crypto hedge funds is a quant analysis. You can see that here. There are some short strategies in there too. So, you know, if you're aware of that, and that as a retail investor, as a Main Street or a smaller net worth investor, that you might be tempted to buy high right now, just understand that the quantitative investor would be tempted to sell high and take your profits. All right, I'm going to stop this. Well, actually, before I stop it, let me show you a couple of ways that you can learn more about the pie chart strategy, and then I'm going to take your questions. So if you go to nataliepace.com, you can click to get your own pie chart, or you can email us, or you can just click on the clickable link in the blog. But if you scroll down, you'll see that our next retreat is online June 4th through the 6th. Right now, we're in the early bird pricing period. So it's a much more affordable price right now through May 15th. After May 15th, you're going to have to pay more. Also, we incentivize friends and family. We don't care if it's your family member or your friend or your husband, whatever it is, that person can come for a very low price with you. If you want to put together a group of 5 or more, just email Heather at info@nataliepace.com or call us at 310-430-2397, because in the early bird period, the 5th person is only going to pay $99. And you guys can figure that out for yourselves so that everybody, is only paying the same amount and that sort of thing. But I did want to make sure you were aware that you do have about a week to register at this super low price. And by the way, this is about $1,000 lower than an in-person retreat, because we have to pay for hotels and lodging and travel and all that sort of stuff. So you, by attending an online retreat, are saving the cost of travel, the cost of the hotel, and you're paying a lot lower price. And if you bring friends and family, this is unheard of. But we want to pass these savings on to you guys. And it's better for you to have a network that speaks the same language and understands. So these are 21st century time proven strategies. They've worked fantastically at a time when most people have their assets on a roller coaster. Again, using the pie chart system with the regular rebalancing once, twice, or 3 times a year means that you have a buy low, sell high plan on autopilot that takes the emotions out of it. And that's a winning strategy. So I do encourage you to learn it at the retreat. Certainly, you can read about it in my book, The ABCs of Money. It's very affordable. You can get a second opinion if you want to make sure that what you have right now is safe, protected, hot, and diversified. Just call 310-430-2397 or email info@nataliepace.com for pricing on our second opinions. But the retreat will transform your life. And yeah, I'm in crypto. I definitely have a hot slice of crypto. Mine's in Bitcoin Cash, and I'm very glad that that's the one I chose when Bitcoin was at an all-time high, because the returns obviously have been very, very good. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording for now, and we'll have, if anybody has a question, I'll open up the phone lines and we can, I don't know what you call them on a video conference. And you guys will have a conversation. If there's anything that I believe should be recorded, I'll let you know, and I'll come back and record the answers. Okay, so I did want to add one last thing, and that is when people say that the Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar and the US dollar is imploding, it's going to become worthless. There are things that are happening that you should be aware of, so that you're not just thinking, oh, I can just, stocks are going to keep going up and real estate's going to keep going up. There's a lot happening behind the scenes that you should be aware of, and you can be aware of it now before it happens. So I'm going to share the screen and tell you a few things that are coming up. It doesn't mean that the dollar is going to become worthless. If you guys are late to this video conference, you must go back and watch the beginning of it, because we did talk about global reserve currencies and the US dollar's place in it, and what other currencies are in the basket of currencies, and how much percentage the US dollar has. I'm not going to repeat it all, but you guys can go back and see that at the beginning. But what I wanted to show you here, this is a calendar of things that are coming up. So one of the things that a lot of people are not aware of is this one right here. We're going to have a debt ceiling. We have to raise the debt ceiling by the end of July. Now, because there are so many Democrats in the House and in the Senate, that the debt ceiling should be raised. But the problem is that we are going to start hearing about the massive amount of debt that we have. And it is absolutely massive. So, you're hearing, when you're watching television or commercials that, everybody wants to buy a house and they can't, but house prices are at an all-time high, and consumer debt is at an all-time high, and our public debt is astronomical. So if you want to take a look at this asset bubble chart, and again, I was comparing the dot-com recession, the Great Recession, with the current recession. Yeah, we're in uncharted territory, and there's a lot of things that are going on. So, at the end of July, we have the debt ceiling. And of course, we have to start talking about how we're going to pay back all this money. Also, you're going to start hearing about Fitch's negative outlook for the US credit. So Canada was downgraded to AA plus last year. The US was put on credit watch in 2020. Usually that means that you have to fix the credit, fix the issues within 18 months or get a downgrade. Now, when I've talked to other economists, they say, well, yeah, we could get a downgrade from Fitch, but so will everybody else. Well, it's still going to freak people out. But what I want to say, and especially remember, go back and watch the beginning of this so you understand the basket of currencies, is that the whole world is heavily indebted. The whole world experienced a pandemic. If you think that China's any better, we're China's biggest customer. So you want to go back and watch the beginning if you missed it so that you understand that. Does that mean that Bitcoin can then take over all global reserve currencies? I think that's unlikely. Does that mean that Bitcoin can start becoming part of the way that we exchange goods and services? Yes, it's very early, but yes, I do believe that. I'm not with the old school people that think it can't do that. There are too many very smart people who would like to see it become part of it, like Andreessen Horowitz and Tesla and Square. So, there were people that thought we would never be able to order online and we'd still be going to malls. And obviously that came about. There were people that thought we'd never, have an ebook reader that could have 100 books. So we'd always want to be able to go and physically open up a book, And I think that those people are maybe the same ones that think that we won't have cryptocurrency as part of our currency system. But it's very early. And right now, it's not a part of the currency system. It's possibly a part of Tesla's currency system. And it's a way for Square to bank a lot of extra revenue and look hotter than the company's revenue would normally look if it weren't trading Bitcoin. All right, so thank you for joining me. I'd love to see you at the June retreat. It's the last chance to have a retreat until October. So those of you that don't know what you own in your nest egg, this is the time to know. You want to fix the roof while the sun is still shining. It does. Look, we're going to have an outstanding year of GDP growth. The problem is it's already built into the prices of our stocks. They're trading at an all-time high. So rather than just pray and hope that it's going to keep shooting the moon, again, it's not nothing. Most people are actually not really properly diversified. Let me go back real quickly and show you the pie chart. I do a lot of second opinions, and most people in their pie chart, they do not have small, medium, large, value, and growth and four hots. They usually have one fat slice of large cap value, a smaller slice of large cap growth, maybe international, a boatload of bonds. And by the way, bonds are risky. They're losing money. So your safe side could be even more at risk than your at risk side. So getting a second opinion for anyone over the age of 40 with a big retirement account, especially if you were worried in March of 2020, that would be a very, very good idea. And by the way, the second opinion shows you a pie chart of what you have, a pie chart of what you should have, and I outline areas of strength and weakness for you. So it's a game plan, it's a blueprint. It tells you step by step what you can do to get safe, protected, hot, and diversified. I am not managing money for you. I am a financial educator. I'm a financial analyst. So I'm here to provide the news, information, education, but the time-proven 21st century strategies that are now time-proven, that's why they're endorsed by so many people. And again, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I'm saying it because it's important for you to grade your guru. So, you can't buy the endorsement of the people that are here or the people that that have attended the retreat and, really transform their lives. So Gary Becker won the Nobel Prize in economics. He wrote the foreword to my first book because he believed in these strategies so much. He saw that in 2006. So they proved their merit in both the dot-com and the Great Recession and the pandemic. And now it's a 21st century time proven strategy. At that time, it was looking forward to what I thought the economy was going to do based on economics. And Becker agreed. And so, anyway, this works. Buy and hope. Last century strategy doesn't work in the 21st century. So, better for you to get something that actually works. All right. Thanks again. You can reach us at info@nataliepace.com, at 310-430-2397. If your friends want to watch this back or you want to share with friends, it will be posted on my YouTube channel within an hour. YouTube.com/Natalie Pace. And by the way, I'm probably going to pre-record June and July, and maybe even August video conferences, just in case I'm in Europe or Peru. And for doing a revision, the newest revision of the ABCs of Money, and also Put Your Money Where Your Heart Is, the books. I will still be available for all of you guys, but summer is my weaker time, but I still want you to have the video conferences. Anyway, I'm thinking about doing the Thrive budget and also debt reduction strategies. So just stay tuned, subscribe at youtube.com/Natalie Pace so that you're sure to get those video conferences too. Thanks again. I love this community. I love my job. I love my work. And I'm really, really, really happy that you have strategies that can allow you to invest in these shoot the moon investments safely. All right. See you soon. Thanks.